Don't we have the blob? We have the blob. Have you ever seen the movie The Blob? We have it. Thank you. I was expecting a blob. Friday night, sometimes the blob comes slow. The Blob was a 1958 sci-fi horror film. It's an alien life form that crashes to Earth, consumes everything in its path. Run, don't walk from the Blob. The Blob has become kind of the way that we have tried to understand personnel policy at the Trump administration. And I don't mean in the sense that they're like gelatinous or terrifying. I just mean that they cause people to flee. One of the unusual things about this life we're living through right now, truly unprecedented, is that we've got a brand new administration in power in Washington. They haven't even hit the 1-year mark yet, but they shed people like a shaking dog sheds rain. I mean, it's just at an unprecedented pace. Administration officials flee. They run, don't walk from the administration they joined not that long ago. And we have tried to keep track as it happens. Turns out it's hard. Today, a senior position at the Treasury that was filled by Shannon McGahn, wife of White House counsel Don McGahn. That became vacant when she left her position at Treasury. She worked for Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin. Today's her last day. Vice President Mike Pence also today lost his domestic policy director. He also lost his chief lawyer. Lost 2 senior staffers in a day. White House Chief of Staff John Kelly's senior advisor is also out. The White House says they found some other job for him at a foreign aid agency, but he's out of the White House. And now the head of the NSA and Cyber Command says that he is out as well. He'll be gone as of the spring. And literally, those are just the people we learned about today. I mean, if you are trying to keep track of the departures list from the Trump administration, it has become kind of an auctioneer's challenge. Health and Human Services Secretary, Chief of Staff, Deputy Chief of Staff, another Deputy Chief of Staff, a Director of Public Liaison, a Communications Director for the Office of Public Liaison, a Press Secretary, an Assistant Press Secretary, 2 Communications Directors, a Rapid Response Director, a National Security Advisor, 2 Deputy National Security Advisors, an Advisor to the National Security Council, a Director of Intelligence Programs at the National Security Council, the Deputy Chief of Staff at the National Security Council, a Director of Strategic Planning at the National Security Council, a Senior Director for the Middle East at the National Security Council, a Chief White House Strategist, remember him, a Deputy Assistant to the President and Strategist, an Acting U.S. Attorney General, an FBI Director, dozens of U.S. Attorneys, a National Economic Council Deputy Director, a Domestic Policy Council Deputy Director, the Chief of Staff to the Vice President, the Press Secretary to the Vice President, the Director of the Office of Government Ethics, and Carl, Special Advisor to the President on Regulatory Reform. And then today, you can add Counselor to the Secretary of the Treasury, Vice President's Director of Domestic Policy, Chief Counsel to the Vice President, Senior Advisor to the White House Chief of Staff, and the Director of the NSA. They're not at a year yet. It's the Blob. Run, don't walk.